So there's many mystics in the past, such as the Christian mystics, Saint Therese, and perhaps other Sufi saints who experienced deep mental anguish, but they came along a path where they wanted to transcend their ego, and which took a process of time. But Saint Therese was able to overcome her OCD completely, and also some Sufi mystics have overcome states of depression by ultimately dissolving their ego and then coming into oneness with God. What's your view on that?
The thing is that this is self-discipline and self-cleansing. As we were just talking about the current purpose of life. So if the current purpose of life, if we look deeply into it, even superficially into it, reflect on it, it is competing with the next door, competing with the other person in terms of money, power, acquisitions, property. So if these things are so shallow and so artificial and really don't mean anything in reality, because you take nothing with you, any of that, and especially if you've earned them, then obviously there is evil within that artificiality. So what kind of moral life are you leading then? So somebody who's able to reflect on it, somebody who's able to see the reality of it, and then see what the purpose of life would be. Now, Buddha is a great example, isn't it? He was a prince, saw all the trauma around, had that sensitive heart, and then went away, leaving his family and his fiefdom and prince-ness. And what did he achieve? So if you take away all these layers of artificiality, then I think you will take away lots of these anxiety-related baggages. Because what is this anxiety about? This anxiety is about this existence. So if you become in tune with the purpose of existence, then what will be the anxiety about? If we look at the whole of human philosophy, from the very start, the philosophers have talked about the virtuous life, which is not in line with the powerful life or the rich life or the luxurious life. They've talked of the virtuous life, and they tried to come up with all sorts of systems, the Stoics and so on. And I would say that that's been the eternal battle of mankind with the material world, is that the material world is saying, I'm very attractive. The system makes you the slave of that. And so I think COVID has brought that to the fore, that whether it's the President of the United States or the Prime Minister of Britain or whoever, you can really be knocking on the door of death. 200,000 in the US have died, and more than so many million are sick all over the world, and it has really transformed. And what did the Pope say? That monopoly capitalism has failed to deal with it. There is a great tradition in Islam and in Judaism and in Hinduism and Christianity of this kind of Sufi training. Yeah. The priests who, went to these far-flung monasteries and had this 10-year fast of not speaking, wearing the roughest cloth, eating, just porridge, which is, very simple and, yeah. So similarly, Sufis in Islam have done that. And the rabbis of the past have done that. And the yogis in Hinduism do that when they absolutely absolve themselves of all the things of life and ownership. which
Although
we
they do
feel.
say, even as in Islam, they do say that you can even reach that level even by living in the regular world. You don't have to go off into a mountain or.
You don't, yeah, because this is what Islam says, that, be practical and discipline yourself. And but the important thing is that there are parts of Islam, and if you read the Quran, which hint that anything which is over and above your need is surplus and should be given away. So that is why you have the tradition of people like Abu Zar Ghafari and those companions of the Prophet, who believed that anything that you had in surplus was haram.
Though you also had the Prophet Solomon, who had a kingdom of riches and wealth, but yet
900 wives as well, yes.
maintained a righteous life.
Yeah, he did, yes. But the thing is that now, basically, this is how I look at this: is that prophets did all sorts of things, and they were perfect in their own way. Solomon the wise, Jesus, complete love and absolute love and forgiveness. And I think that Muhammad, peace be upon him, he actually brought that degree of balance, that he still always had one pair of shoes. He was the king of Arabia and spiritual and so on, and he had within his lifetime he had an empire. There are attractions in life, and that's where you need to have that balance, but it's achieving that balance that is important. So people will talk a lot of balance, but will be extremely imbalanced about what they do. So they may talk about spirituality, but they may want to own palatial houses and numerous cars and so on, like ourselves. So I think that I am leading a very shallow life, seriously, because I'm attracted to these things all the time, and I've begun to reflect on it by saying I am doing it. So I think, I don't know where it goes, or it doesn't go anywhere.
It's amazing you have that capacity to self-reflect. Many Asians don't even don't have the capacity to even looking at themselves.
Yeah, but that's, I think, a universal problem, and that's where wherever capitalism goes, the only aim is you look at all the magazines and news. Who are the heroes? Heroes are the rich, people who are billionaires. The top, richest person. Once upon a time, people did talk of the most knowledgeable people and those scholars and so on. Nobody's talking about that now.